Today, we're here to talk about the merchant cash advance problem as it pertains to factoring and the factoring industry and some of the things that we have to be careful of, and also a possible solution to the MCA problem. Harvey, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about the MCA history and how it's really been causing issues and problems in the factoring world.
Thank you, Aaron. So the MCA, merchant cash advance industry, started as the credit card processing industry, where companies who were doing the credit card processing for clients also gave them the opportunity to get up to 6 months worth of their previous sales in an upfront type of money. So the example would be if a restaurant did 100,000 a month, usually then they would request a $600,000 advance against their next 6 months worth of sales. That credit card processing company would then use the proceeds from the credit card processing and give them money up front, charge them an interest, and then it was usually paid back within 6 months through the MCA collections. The interest rates were pretty high. They ranged anywhere from 40 to 120%. Later on, these credit card processing companies morphed into the merchant cash advance, where instead of giving the money using the credit card processing for collections, they would give the money based on a similar formula with up to 6 months in advance sales. And what they would do is then take ACH swipes out of the borrower's bank account to get paid back. Similar interest rates and everything else. The problem this caused in the marketplace for the financial industry, specifically factors and ABLs and some banks, was they didn't enter into intercreditor agreements. So therefore, nobody knew this money was being given to the clients at this high interest rate. Many times it made the contract illegal because in the factor's contracts, it said, I am your sole source of money. You have to come to me first. And then I would enter into an intercreditor agreement. They weren't doing that. And in many cases, they didn't even take a UCC filing. This universal commercial code filing would have at least given somebody an opportunity to have a clue that they were doing this. So what transpired these last few years, the MCAs became very quick, put money on the street at these high interest rates with low due diligence, a lot of less restrictions, and many borrowers found themselves going to them to get their money. This did create problems for lenders because they felt they were prudently giving money to their clients using usual 4 C's of credit, etc. Now they can't do that because there's a new player involved. And these MCAs, in addition to causing that problem, added to the problem by doing what we call stacking, where more than one came in. When more than one came in, you had a multiple problem. You could have anywhere from 2 to 6 to 8 MCAs giving money to the same borrower, and everybody grabbing for his bank account. It has caused a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of problems. The financial institutions were looking for ways to cure this. All that being said, aside from all laws that the feds and the states are putting in, there are people now who are going to try to address how do we aid our clients, how do we protect the secured lender, and to get out of this opportunity. And there became an issue that you're very much involved with. So I'll turn it over to you for that solution process.
Thanks, Harvey. So what you're saying is that factors rely on transparency in order to purchase specific receivables. And what the MCAs are doing are they're mucking that up. They're not providing the transparency. They're not engaging in communications to make intercreditor agreements, and yet they're encumbering the same receivables, stifling the cash flow of the businesses who are doing the borrowing. And sometimes they stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these things behind the factor, which is destroying the liquidity of the business and therefore the ability to the factor to continue an honest lending relationship.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's a huge problem. And no matter what we do, even when factors write provisions into their contracts, which is to say, do not take merchant cash advances, we still see that happening anyway. And it's just the reality of the situation that we're in right now, with the ease of access to capital that they provide, and the predatory nature at which they approach business owners. We're still seeing it. So one of the solutions here, and I argue to be the most effective solution, is what's called the Article 9 transaction. When a business is faced with unsupportable debt, which is inevitable when it comes to merchant cash advances that are stacked, or even if there's just one, there's an opportunity to separate the business from its debt through a reorganizational transaction through what's called Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code. And what this is it's a strategic short sale of business assets for a distressed business operation that transfers the assets to a third party bona fide purchaser, keeps the business operation alive while leaving the debt in the original business entity. And the logic behind this is very simple. Article 9 is a liquidation tool. It is very simple. It is a mechanism for secured lenders to liquidate their collateral. If there's not enough value for the liquidated assets to pay the first position in full, then the subordinate lenders don't get anything, just as in any liquidation process. What Article 9 allows us to do is to control the transaction, bring all of the parties together in a collaborative and cooperative process that preserves the business operation. Where before it was over leveraged, had cash flow liquidity issues, and couldn't operate without taking on another MCA. Now we get to do a fresh start, reorganize the business through this transaction, and preserve those jobs that are reliant upon the business's success. So for us, there are really two main benefits that an Article 9 can be used for. The first one is to deal with non-performing borrowers that are already in a factor's portfolio. So say, for example, you are a factor and you have a distressed business owner that has stacked MCAs despite the contract language that you have prohibiting that sort of activity. You can walk that client through an Article 9 transaction to preserve the business operation when it would otherwise be shut down, and to preserve a client that could be lent against in the future with a fresh balance sheet in first position. The other opportunity to leverage Article 9 for the benefit of factors is to change the lens at which factors look at their deal flow. When they're evaluating businesses that submit applications, they don't approve every single one. And a lot of the businesses that apply for factoring and for financing, they get turned down because of the balance sheet, because of the debt schedule. Well, instead of turning away from those opportunities, you have the opportunity to walk those businesses through an Article 9 transaction, and then on the other side of that transaction have a fresh, clean business operation that can be factored in first position without any risk of merchant cash advances stifling the business liquidity. So between cleaning up a non-performing portfolio and widening the scope of your deal flow simply by looking at your deals with a different lens, Article 9 can be a huge tool for factors when it comes to conducting business for distressed businesses, conducting financing for distressed business operations. So, Harvey, what are your thoughts on the Article 9 process in general?
Well, it sounds very good, because previously there was a perception that an Article 9 was only in the benefit of a secured lender to take the possession of the business away from the borrower, not giving them any flexibility of continuing. And therefore, the lender got paid out as best as he can using that Article 9. this tool you're talking about gives flexibility to either the existing secured lender or a future secured lender to come in so that there is a continuation in some degree of a working forward NUCO if possible. And it's something that I think existing lenders, when they're going through their portfolio, before they try to just close the business down, give some thought to using your thought process on how to revisit the existing client. And also, if they're looking at a prospect, this might be a way for them to continue to operate funding in a possible way to new prospect without just saying no because the picture looks bleak. So it gives you two different opportunities to improve an opportunity here.
Certainly. Well, I completely agree. And it's really important to understand all the options that are available, especially in times of financial distress for the entire economy, not just on a business by business basis, but when the economy takes a hit, it's ideal for everybody to understand their options. And quite frankly, Article 9 has benefits that no other option can present, such as Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is fraught with its own issues, assignments for the benefits of creditors, which is fraught with its own issues. So, ultimately, we just try to spread the message of what Article 9 is so that everybody understands what all of the options are and they can leverage those tools to their best benefit.
So I think the awareness of this Article 9 opportunity to replace should be known not just to the borrower, not just to the lender, not just to potential new lenders, but trusted advisors, the CPAs, the lawyers, the turnaround professionals that operate with this market to know that this is another tool that they should consider to use. I think this is something that even new investors should have an interest in because it's a way of putting money into what could be a fairly new circumstance that could be beneficial. So there's a lot of people here that can benefit by knowing about this new procedure.
Well, thank you very much. And, we'll keep these conversations going. Thank you for your time.